Ollie, what did you make of the result and the performance?
Disappointing, just a little bit off, and when you're off, I think I said to you before the game, did I? Yeah, I can't remember which interview you speak in. If you're off, if you're not spot on, you're not going to win games, and because Palace are a side that always make it hard for you, and they did again, because we just, first half, too slow to start with. They had a brighter start, then we played well for a little while, but we couldn't score a goal. Second half again, never got going. Made some changes, had one or two decent opportunities, but not enough, of course.
If you were a bit flat, why do you think that was?
Well, that's sometimes it's human. That's just a human nature. Sometimes you don't work at your best. Today we didn't, unfortunately. It's been a long season. I'm not going to put any blame on that, because that's everyone's got the same season. So of course. That's part of it, and you're playing against a good team that make you play the way they want to at times, when you don't have the quality and tempo that we should have had.
Was another thing that you were missing creativity tonight?
We kept giving the ball away. There's times in the first half when we had some crisp passing, players in the right positions, like simple passes, but quality passes, and then we built some pressure. We had some half decent chances. Marcus had a good chance in the first half, some good play, but we kept giving it away easily, and then you don't build momentum, and that's the game you get.
Dean Henderson didn't have much to do, apart from, it might well have been offside, a smart save right at the end.
Yeah.
When you've had nothing to do all night, is that perhaps even harder, that sort of save?
Yeah, that's a Man United goalkeeper sometimes, that you have to keep your concentration, and he's growing into that position. He's great save. I thought, I didn't know if he was off or not, so I thank him for 1 point and not 0.
Any idea when David De Gea might be available again as yet?
No, that's a private matter, so it'll take it time that it takes.
How concerned are you about the points that are slipping away? 4 in the last 2 games.
Yes, it's not what we want, but that's the football we're playing in. We're in the Premier League, and you have to play better to win games. We know we're in a battle to be as high in the table as possible, and we see other results sometimes go like we don't expect, and we know we're in a fight, and we need to pick every point we can.
How much would you expect a Manchester derby to produce a very different performance at the weekend?
It'll definitely be a different challenge, of course, and we have to play better to win that one, and that's what we're aiming for. We go into every game wanting to win, putting a plan to win, and if the players perform, we can.
It might not have been pretty, but it's 4 points off of Manchester United, a thing of beauty.
Yeah, very pleasing, and we know what their away form's like. I think the last 20 games or whatever, they've not lost. So big game for us today. I thought we played really well. I thought it was organised. We dug in when we had to. Created a couple of chances ourselves. I thought it was a really good performance.
Is that the word, organised? How well drilled were you out there?
Yeah, we was. My voice is gone. It's all about pulling people, talking a lot, making sure, because a couple of times when we didn't do that and we dropped a little bit too deep, you seen it in the first half with a Rashford chance. When they get in between the lines, they're dangerous with them passes. So it was important we kept the line up, and like I said, worked really hard, and we created some chances ourselves as well. So I thought it was a very good performance against a very good team.
How important are the two sitting in front of the defence that screen you?
Yeah, of course. Again, going back to that, if they're not there, or you play, the midfield play too high or we're too deep, there's huge gaps there, and that's where you get punished in this league, especially with clever players. You can see the talent that these have got, and you get hurt. So we knew that we had to keep them lines close together, and I think we frustrated them tonight. We frustrated them a lot, which is a good sign on our part.
But you seem comfortable when they have the majority of possession.
Did we? No, it was. No, we was. That's what I'm saying. We was organised. When you're organised and you're in good shape, you can spring from that. And obviously, it makes things a lot easier when the spaces are right and the distances are right between each other. It makes the game a lot easier. It's not always the case, but today we did it very well. And I agree. We did feel comfortable, but at the same time, we're still respectful of the players they've got, and they've got players that can just unlock a game in a split second. So it's all about concentration, them games, I think.
When you look back at the last 3 games, what do you make of that return?
Good. I think in the last 6 games, it's a decent return for us. all things said and done, we've still got a few injuries out as well. So all things said and done, it's not a bad return for us.
Good stuff. Well done tonight,
Thank
Gary.
you very much.
Good to see you.
Yeah, he enjoyed that, and indeed the clean sheet, and we'll get into Manchester United in a moment. But a word for Palace. They've taken 4 points from 6 against Manchester United this season, and Roy Hodgson's teams are well coached, as we said before, and they'll be pleased with that.
No, they'll be delighted. That's what they do a lot of work on the training ground, and you can certainly tell that they all look comfortable in doing that. And I mean, when the question was asked to Gary Cahill there, what about the 2 guys that protect? He's have to say, well, no, we do most of the work at the in the defence, but they're very good at what they do. They make it difficult for the opposition, and without doubt, they deserved something tonight.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if Palace were really good at defending or United just were really poor offensively. I think it was a bit of both, yeah. I think it was a bit of both. Palace defended really well, as Al said. They're good at that. But for United, they knew that was going to happen. Everybody knows how Roy Hodgson's team's set up. Surely you're going to have to find a solution to combat that. I know, when Bruno doesn't have a good day and Paul Pogba's not there, you're relying on somebody to step up. And somebody didn't step up today. I think in the past, or especially this season, we've seen individual players step up with a moment of brilliance. It wasn't there. Nobody stepped up to provide that, and that's why they didn't come away as winners.
And indeed, probably the best chance fell to Patrick Van Aanholt for Palace.
Yeah, well, that was it was a big moment for Henderson. He's waited patiently, perhaps could have and should have, I think, been in before this, and that was the one thing that he had to do tonight, and it was a very, very important thing, albeit very late in the game. He makes himself big. Tight angle, yes, but you can see he's quick out there to him and manages to block it and just does enough.
Everything Dean Henderson does is solid, is sound. Whether it comes to claim crosses, he's confident. That moment he gets off his line, he's really confident. He came away today with positive, I think really positively. I think offensively United, they'll be really disappointed because they just weren't there.
So what was wrong with them going forward in terms of creating chances? One effort on target in the whole
Sluggish, slow, didn't create anywhere near or ask enough questions of that Palace back four, didn't have enough width, they were sloppy, they were lethargic, they looked very tired, and there was nothing good about their game going forward. Too many individual errors, too many people having too many touches on the ball, 3 and 4 touches, and I said at half-time. And I know it's difficult because we've said it, Crystal Palace do it very well, and when you get numbers behind the ball, men behind the ball, it's difficult to break down. But to do that, you've got to move the ball quickly, you've got to make the pitch big and create width and stretch Crystal Palace. But they didn't do any of that today, didn't really get into any positions, certainly didn't trouble the goalkeeper. One effort on target, which was the deflected shot from Matic in the first half, and they were just very, very flat.
Yeah, just never pulled the trigger there. Scott McTominay can pull the trigger. He came off the bench. There's some poor giveaways. Dan James, free header, completely misses it. He makes a really good run. Positive gets in there, just misses it, comes off Van Aanholt. And I think for all that he'll realise they weren't at their best. And to be fair, they've got a pretty tough game coming up on the weekend. They're going to have to be a lot sharper than they were tonight.
Is it easy to say sharpness, or should the word desire be there?
No, I think what Man United struggle when teams sort of sit deep, and they have had an over-reliance of someone producing that piece of brilliance to get them out of it. They don't really open teams up, or haven't opened teams up enough, and that tonight was a classic example of that. When a team is prepared just to sit in, to tight, to frustrate, to try and take the sting out of the game, it's tough to break down, and they didn't have anywhere near enough to do that tonight. And I mean, let's face it, they could have been there another 2 hours, and Man United were never going to score there this evening.
But this has happened before, time and time again. It's not a new problem for the team, is it?
Well, no, I mean, it's the third 0-0 in a row. They had one in the Europa League, and then they had one against Chelsea.
And they've had 6 this season, more than any other Premier League team.
But I can understand in the bigger games, when they're playing the better teams, that they get a bit cautious, and that they try and play on the counter and defend well. But today, you knew the way Roy Hodgson and Chris Palace were going to set up. So surely there has to be something where you can say, right, you think back to the goal earlier from Vardy and Iheanacho, where they linked up, where Vardy went inside and made that space for other players. There was no really running, in behind or making space for other people. They were quite static. I think Palace were quite comfortable. Everything was in front of them. And sometimes you just need somebody to make a run for somebody else to get in. That didn't happen today. You tried to get Bruno on the ball, but he was too crowded out. I don't think it was a game you needed two defensive midfield players. Matic and Fred, it didn't feel like, Fred gave away a lot of the ball as well. So maybe find a way to get another attacker on there when you dominate the ball. But, I think for Ole, he'll say one shot on target against a team that defensive, they definitely need more.
And as you can see, apart from that win against Newcastle, sorry, Alan, 4 draws.
Has to be Newcastle, didn't it?
4 draws in the last 5 games. I mean, there's some points dropped there, particularly obviously tonight, and West Brom, spring off.
Yeah,
the
they've got to be careful because I mean, Man City are that far ahead of everyone this season in the league that they don't have this acceptance that. Well, it's okay second, and that's a bit of an achievement after an improvement from last year. And they get into that mentality, well, season's nearly over, we've just got to do enough. We can do well in the cup competition, finish in the top 4. I mean, that in itself will be a good season, but to have... It looked as if it was that sort of mentality tonight, as if to say there was no real urgency, no real fight or scrap to say, you know what, we're going to try and put serious pressure on our neighbours, Man City, to just in case something does happen. I think that performance tonight was an acceptance that Man City will win the league.
And in that sense, is that acceptable for a Manchester United player?
Well, I think I'll use a good word there, urgency. The onus is on the players to create that urgency, to put a bit of pressure. It wasn't there. And I think for United, the season kind of fell away last season, especially towards the end. I think they've had a good season up to now, but you don't want to let it get away from you. And I think finishing second, there's no shame in that. But you don't want to... You don't want it... They can't have any more games, really, like that, where you don't really create, where they don't have that urgency. I think towards the end of last season, they lose 3 semi-finals, and kind of fell away towards the end. They don't want that again happen this year. They're in a good position in a lot of situations. They need to capitalise, and obviously maybe Pogba not being there has a big impact. Bruno had another quiet game. When he has a quiet game, United needs to find somebody to step up. Who's going to fill and pop in and create for United? Because today, Mason Greenwood played off the right. We know he's a fabulous player. Didn't really affect the game. Marcus Rashford had a quiet game. Cavani was really quiet, didn't affect the game. So the whole front 4 of Man United were really quiet. I know we have to credit Palace, but Man United knew how the game was going to develop. They should have forced the issue a bit more.
And just to put this into context, their fewest attempts in a Premier League game for almost 2 years.
I know, we had to sit through it. You don't have to remind us. It was a tough watch. It was just a very, very flat performance from them. There was no zip in the midfield. There was no fizz in their passing. It was all slow and I wouldn't use the word easy for Crystal Palace, because it's not. You got to work hard in what they do, but they certainly didn't move them around anywhere near enough to warrant to get 3 points there.